Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I want to react to a video that I saw a few days ago. There's been some really intriguing videos that's been coming out lately. Whenever I get a chance, I like to present these videos because, as I said, I've said this over the years. Of course, I'm going to share my opinion about what I think of Brazil, but I also like to give voice to Brazilians to bring this information about how Brazil functions according to race from what Black Brazilians are saying themselves, or even white Brazilians who are willing to speak on the reality of how race is experienced in Brazil. So today is a video I'm reacting to that is reacting to a video that I reacted to maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Maybe you all will remember this video when it comes up again. I'm going to feature it because the guy in the video who I don't know, maybe he just recently saw the video, but I know when I saw it, I had to react to it. So it's a discussion about Brazil's, well, we're not racist because we all mix here. That's generally been how most Brazilians will see this, or this is what they'll say when someone asks them about the race question in Brazil. You know, there's a lot of mythology that goes along with Brazil. And sometimes you have to decipher, people sometimes will take offense to whatever opinion you might have about their country. I know Americans will get offended about certain stuff coming from non-Americans. So this might be the same way that Brazilians might see it as well, which is why I like to use and discuss the opinions of Black Brazilians or white Brazilians who are honest enough about the race question. So today's video, in Brazil, white people have always been against interracial unions. They only value this to the extent that the population would be whitened. I've said that before. Other people have said that. There are other videos that made this same suggestion. They look at people who have really been honest about how this race mixing works in Brazil. It's not a thing of let's just all mix and just be one race. No, it's miscegenation or race mixing, interracial unions is a necessary step to get to the idealized, what people want is to get closer to the whiteness, get closer to the European appearance. I've read over a number of years, and I've even had people tell me this, that in the south of Brazil, they say the Brazilians in the south, the 3 southern states of Brazil is considered the European section of Brazil. See, people in those 3 states don't even see themselves as white or Brazilian. They see themselves as Europeans. So if Brazil doesn't have a race issue, all of these stories that I've been talking about since 2011, it would just be just nonsense. But this is what I'm saying, how Brazil presents itself on the surface and then how things really work. So I wanted to talk about what this guy had to say in this video because, much of the stuff that I've said, other people have said, and it's just a point of, let's be real. Brazil's racism isn't equal to the United States. It's just a different style. It's what they call racismo brasileiro. It's Brazilian style racism. It's not exactly like the United States, but both are anti-Black, which is the whole point. So anyway, let me get into this video. First, I'm going to present the video that I reacted to a few weeks ago, and then what the current video is reacting to as well. So we can set the video off of, the topic and put it into context. What's the most absurd thing you've ever heard from an ex? That I was Black. Really? Yes, he said, you're pretty, but I can't introduce you to my family because you're Black. Okay, so I'm sure if you're a regular follower of this channel, you remember that video that I put up a couple of weeks ago. It's very clear. The girl said it. A white guy said it. The white guy that she was dating says, look, you're pretty, but I can't take you home just specifically because you're Black. Now, in a racial democracy where everybody sees each other as equal, how does that make any sense? This is, like I said, the ongoing contradiction about how Brazil really is and how Brazilians prefer for people to believe it is. So then the Instagram channel that I'm reacting to a video from an Instagram channel called Quando Preto Falar, or Fala. It means when the Black man speaks. Okay. So before I get into his video, I want to talk more about, and I'm only going to say this for a few minutes before I move into the video. Again, the idea of race mixing and in what they call miscegenation, interracial unions, has always been one of the main pillars in Brazil for what people use. They use this idea to say that Brazilians aren't racist because so many of us have African, European, and indigenous ancestry. So how can we be racist? We Brazilians aren't racist because we mix. Well, it's not necessarily how that works. The point is people mix, and a lot of people have it in their mind. If the person is of a darker race, I hope my child comes out whiter. If the person in the interracial relationship is white, like, I hope my child doesn't come out dark, and I hope they come closer to what I look like than what this darker partner looks like. Let's just be real. I mean, you know, there's plenty of comments online where I can verify whether people are saying this. So again, what comes into question here is this question of embranquecimento, or whitening the population, which again, and I've used this photo and this painting over and over, because you have to understand this painting to understand what is at the root of how race works in Brazil. The 1895 painting called Redenção de Cã, which means Ham's redemption. And it shows 3 generations that says the darker black grandmother had a relationship with a white man, producing the mulatta or mixed daughter. The mixed daughter has a relationship with a European man. He might be a Portuguese immigrant, but he's supposed to be white. And in her lap is the white or near white child. So within 3 generations, this family has been whitened. The black grandmother here has her hands to the sky, saying, you know, thank you for removing this black stain from my family. The palm leaves in the background represent hope. So in essence, this is the whole story in Brazil about how people see interracial unions. It's not that people support them, particularly from the white side. It's a necessary evil to get rid of the blackness of the country. Okay. Racism within interracial unions. Numerous people over the years have talked about, people didn't see this before until there was a bigger discussion about racial issues in Brazil. People didn't really kind of question it as to why people would hear negative comments about the darker people in their families. And it was just, nobody questioned it because it was just kind of naturalized. You know, the white side of the family is better, the black side of the family is not. Until people started getting a certain racial consciousness to understand, like, wow, you know, I used to hear this in my family all the time. The white side of the family is praised, the pretty side of the family, and then the dark side of the family is not appreciated. Like, we want to move away from that. So this is the context of Brazil. So again, this is what happened in the video with the girl says, the white guy she was dating says, I can't take you home because you're black. So in Brazil, white people have always been against interracial unions. They only value it to the extent that the population can be whitened. I mean, the facts are there. If you talk to enough black people who have a certain racial consciousness, they can give you clear examples of how they have noted this in their families. Then you're going to have black people who actually wish to whiten their offspring, and they're not going to see a problem with it. Like, it's a necessary evil or necessary ill for me to have a white child. Okay. So let me get into this video by the Quando Preto Fala Instagram page. I want to overdub what he has to say. Listen to what he has to say, and I'm going to come back and react to some of the stuff that he said.
Qual que foi a coisa mais absurda que você já ouviu do teu ex?
Que eu era negra.
Capaz.
Sim, ele falou, você é bonita, mas não posso te apresentar para minha família porque você é negra.
Pessoas brancas sempre foram contra relacionamento interracial.
White people have always been against interracial relationships, and mainly because they go against the narcissistic pact that runs through this group and this class. It's very common and naturalized to say things like, you have to lighten up your family, which is loaded with a specific symbolism within a racially unequal society divided into classes, in which the black person communicates marginality and social vulnerability, and the white person communicates social ascension. In order to win in life, you need to be white. And this construction of our taste isn't just about beauty, about being taught to prefer white people because we think they're prettier, since that's the standard of beauty and the widespread stereotype, but as social validation. We're not going to choose to be with someone whose body, his or her representation within a racially unequal society, as I said, communicates marginality. You see a lot of people like this on the streets, unemployed, begging for money and going hungry. You're going to look for what communicates a victory within the system we live in. So white people have always been against interracial relationships precisely because it challenges their own narcissism and supremacy. Throughout our social formation, miscegenation was only valued by whites so that the population would be whitened. You need to lighten up your family. They put a lot of responsibility on black people for being against interracial relationships, as if black people were persecutors, persecuting other black people, calling people palmiteros, which is extreme nonsense. Of course, there must be half a dozen people who are radicalists and say things that are even violent. But the truth is that there is violence experienced by black people in interracial relationships that are neglected, that are forgotten. I once published a post asking black people in interracial relationships to bring examples of violence they saw within this love configuration. And the number of reports, mainly from heterosexual black women who experienced violence from the white partners' families, was absurd. Violence that didn't even respect pregnant women. Because the report said that these women, when they were pregnant, they heard things like, "I hope your belly isn't dirty. And the child isn't born with your color. I hope the child brings the good side of the family. I hope the child isn't born with bad hair and comes out with good hair." And these are some of the countless examples. Surely everyone has a story like this to tell. The whole debate on interracial relationships has to be centered on this violence. The people who are really responsible for the problem, the people who commit oppression, even if they're in a relationship with black people, the family members of these people who commit oppression. That's the problem, isn't it? You put up a photo on the internet and someone calls you a palmiteiro. Man, that's annoying, isn't it? But what about violence, really? What does it matter in the game of life, in the game of society? Because it seems like we always want to invert situations and make someone who has nothing to do with it the owner of the problem. So anyway, you heard what he had to say there. Some very intriguing points that he made. A lot of points that I've actually made throughout. You know, this is a topic that I like to cover a lot. You know, the whole objective of interracial unions in Brazil, engineered by the elites of the society, was to lighten up black and brown families. It is not, we are all just mixed. You know, love has no color. Amor no tem cor, as they say in Brazil. Again, why do so many top paid black Brazilian athletes, singers, rappers, actors, prominent people always marry white if they haven't been socialized to do so? So then Brazil as a whole, it's mass media, the society itself teaches black people to prefer white people. It instills a sense of a standard of beauty based on a European standard. They need social validation, which was an article I did some time back. You know, black relationships tend to be complex because the validation that black Brazilians seek is usually white. So this is what he's saying. White people have always been against interracial relationships because it challenges their own narcissism and supremacy. There was another article I did that asked the question, how could you prefer a black person over a white person? It's ingrained in the society. So miscegenation, mixing in Brazil, was only valued by whites so that it could whiten the population. I never forget, some years ago, I was reading some comments on, at the time it was Facebook. And this was a time when there were thousands of Haitians coming into the country. A lot of Haitians were going through a lot to get to Brazil. You know, I think it was a little bit after the earthquake had happened. And so Haitians and then Africans, there was an increase of both coming into Brazil. And I just remember some of the comments I was reading on a Facebook post where one particular woman was complaining, like, all of these Haitians coming into Brazil, this is not good because it's going to darken our skin. I have to find that comment somewhere. It was somewhere on Facebook that I saw this. This had to been about between 8 to 10 years ago. I'll never forget reading that. People were talking about that. The question of palmiteados again. Okay, again, when he says palmiteados, this is a term that people use to describe Black Brazilians who seem to have a preference for having relationships with white or whiter skinned people. They call them, how we say down with the swirl jungle fever. They call people palmiteados. And the actual action of it is called palmitagem. Okay. Think about some of the things that they say to Black women who are pregnant or who are with white men. I hope your belly isn't dirty. If a child comes out light skinned in an interracial relationship in Brazil, they say that the woman's belly was clean. Absurd. I hope the child isn't born with your color. Can you imagine somebody telling you that? I hope the child brings out the good side of the family. There's articles where I've already talked about this. I hope the child isn't born with cabelo ruim, as they say in Brazil, bad hair. I hope it comes out with good hair, cabelo bom, as they say in Brazil. He's touching upon all of the points that go with interracial relationships in Brazil. This is common knowledge. These are family members. Within the interracial relationships, people automatically assume these two people of different races must have got together. That means there's no racism anywhere. That's not so. Just because a person is willing to lie with you, have relations with you, even have children with you, that doesn't mean they don't harbor racist sentiments. It doesn't mean that the family doesn't harbor racist sentiments. It's always a situation where the white person is valued in a higher level than the Black person. The white person hopes the child doesn't come out too dark, whereas a lot of times a Black person is hoping that the person takes on the more European attributes of the white partner. It's just what it is. This is something I've studied for the last quarter of a century, and this is what I'm seeing. It's really no way to deny if you talk to enough people. So what is it that people are saying? These are some of the comments that I found along with that same post. The first comment said, talking about how these relationships happen and the feelings that people have about it, specifically white Brazilians, say they are against the acknowledged interracial relationship, but when it comes to hypersexualization, they have always liked that, saying they don't necessarily like seeing the interracial union or marriage that comes with it, but because Black people are considered hypersexualized, they get with that. Like, okay, we don't mind laying down with them, but when it comes to marriage, you have to have the standard person, which is supposed to be white. Second comment says, I experienced the same thing years ago. I saw myself in this girl, talking about the girl in the original video where she says, the guy said, I can't take you home because you're Black. Third comment says, an ex's father said at the time we got married, if he'd ever thought we'd have moreninho children. So, the ex's father is talking about how the kids might come out brown. Did you ever think about that? He probably said that to his son. Did you really think he was going to have brown children? Think about that. There's numerous articles I could show you or comments online where the white family is looking like, we better hope that this child comes out, closer to the white, the guy from our family. Fourth, on this subject, Jordan Peele's movie Corra is well worth seeing. Now, just to remind you, I've talked about this before. Corra is how the movie Get Out was translated in Portuguese. So Corra was a pretty big movie in Brazil, whether people saw it in the theaters or they saw it on DVD online somewhere. A lot of people look at that film as a reference, like, Get Out. That I actually featured Corra or Get Out in some other videos because this was talking about interracial relationships. This was a movie that a lot of people used it in speaking about interracial relationships. The fifth comment, my current boyfriend is white and I love him immensely. But my first boyfriend, who was also white, used to say to me, I never imagined having a relationship with a Black girl. And it seemed that liking me was a surprise to him. It was a surprise to the guy himself. Clearly, what he was waiting for in his life was a white girl to be by his side. 6, this idea that love has no color is only good for palmiteiros. Now, we saw the guy in the video said it's absurd to call somebody a palmiteiro, but it's a common term that people use when they see Black people having serious relationships with white people. The 7th comment here is the most extensive. This woman writes, I'm the daughter of an interracial couple. My Black father married my white mother, and throughout their marriage, they faced racism and petty violence on a daily basis. From being constantly questioned why my mother married a Black man, my father suffered because he was thought to have stolen me as a baby. in a certain countryside town, they couldn't walk hand in hand, and he was always scarred by this. And the prejudice my father suffered ended up affecting my mother too. A lot of couples suffer from this quote, gratitude effect of having found a white man. And my mother used to hear the nonsense that she lowered herself by marrying him. When my father died, I heard comments that in the future, I could choose a white man. Man, it's a lot going on there. Like I said, let the people speak and this stuff will come out. I mean, listen to what she said in a small town on the interior. Now, I don't know what state she's talking about, but she says her mother and father, as an interracial couple, had problems walking the streets holding hands. If Brazil is so race free, a racial democracy where we all mix, why is this even an issue? It's because society doesn't necessarily accept this. Okay. They couldn't walk hand in hand as an interracial couple. They suffered petty violence coming from people. Then the other thing she pointed out, they often thought that when her father was out with her publicly, apparently she has lighter skin, people would look and say, did her father kidnap her? Because he's a brown, clearly black man, and this girl is either close to white or something mixed. That's something that I've seen. I've seen more than a few comments, people saying, I'm afraid that people are going to think I stole my daughter or my son because they're so much lighter than I am. You know, this speaks profoundly about the ideology in Brazilian society. Black Brazilians dealing with this type of psychological violence that goes on, yet they continue to pursue the relationship with a white or near white partner. It's almost, it's to me, it's like racial subservience. Like, yes, I accept that I am the subservient and the lower class, the partner of lower value in a racial relationship. But this is what I'm saying about how they've been socially engineered to accept this. It's almost just like anything to have whiteness by their side. Now, people might look at that as being harsh, but that's what I see in these comments. I've been seeing this for years. If you see it another way, you know, I'd be glad to hear somebody else's opinion about this, but I keep seeing comments like this over and over. So let me just go through a couple of articles that just go hand in hand with some of the stuff that I'm talking about here. Being in an interracial reunion, I keep saying reunion, being in an interracial relationship is not synonymous with racism being over, as Brazil has always proclaimed. Racism in interracial relationships because Black people are taught to overvalue whiteness. Interracial relations in the LGBT community, discovering racism in the LGBT community. What else do we have here? Bleach bath, clothespins on the nose, and black monkey. Study exposes racism in interracial families, debunking one of Brazil's greatest myths. Oftentimes, it's the white mother in an interracial family that makes fun of the Black daughter or son if their features are too close to the Black parent, or in this case, the Black father. You know, Black kids being taught, hey, take a bath with bleach, put a clothespin on your nose to thin out your nose. You look too black, you know, you black monkey. Can you imagine a white mother referring to her own kids this way? Just because somebody's in a racial union does not mean that they are free of racism. Speaking of the clothespin on the nose, I just read a story about Davi. He was the winner of the last edition of Big Brother Brazil. And the article was talking about how this white male gay couple were making fun of David's nose or Davi's nose. So I've seen studies that said Brazilians are very particular. They notice features very strongly. Which is why cosmetic surgery is so big in Brazil, because people are trying to get away from the indigenous or African influence on how they look. Okay. What else do we have here? The blaming of the Black man and the racism contained in the expression Cirillo's syndrome. The debate over Black identity and interracial relationships rages on. Cirillo's syndrome is about this child's novella that was out some years ago. This guy, both of these people are now grown. They're both adults, like in their mid-20s, early 30s now, maybe. And in this novella, this little Black boy was infatuated with this white girl, and she just used to just treat him like he was gum on the bottom of her shoe or something. And it just speaks profoundly. A lot of people are talking about what Black men will do just to get with a white woman. They'll go through humiliation, the family treating them bad, you know, people having discouraging comments in you know, walking through the streets. All of this for the love of a white woman, right? What else do we have here? Why are you dating that Black guy? Are you trying to dirty up the family's blood when anti-Black racism comes from Black and brown families themselves? This goes on and on. What else do we have? These are all articles that you can find at blackbraziltoday.com. Palmitar, the understanding the term used for interracial couples. When racism starts in the family, one woman's memories of a racist. So this is a mixed girl who's talking about the racist comments she used to hear within her mixed family that just put the whiter side of the family on the pedestal while diminishing the black side of the family. Goes on and on. What else do we have? Look at this. I do not mix my blood with SHIT. My son is beautiful and white. I'm not interested in people that never get to my skin tone. In Northeast, Dennis jailed after numerous denouncements of racism. If Brazil is racist free and it's a racial democracy and there's no problem with mixing, where do we get comments like this? And this is just one. You can find hundreds of thousands of these if people are being honest about it. I've documented this for a number of years. I mean, look at the word. Those are pretty strong words that she used there. What else do we have? Racism there in the United States and here in Brazil, no matter how you look at it, both are anti-African. This is what I'm saying. The United States created the one drop rule because they wanted to, I don't know, quote unquote, protect white blood from black blood. So this, if you got one drop of black blood, makes you black in the United States. Whereas Brazil went at it in the opposite direction. Let's all mix. So eventually the black element disappears. Different strategies. They're both anti-African. How else would you, is there another way to look at that? Let's see what else we have here. So this is the Cirillo syndrome, the psychological damage. I just spoke about this term, Cirillo syndrome. Psychological damage on a child when a white parent in interracial marriage is racist, right? So this is a girl's recollection as an adult of hearing the racist things that her mother used to say about her black father. Her mother was of a lower education than the father. The father, I think, went to college, had a good job. He chose a lower class white woman who probably could barely read and didn't even get through high school, but just because she was white. Here's a high status black man. And this is what I'm saying about white women in Brazil have the choice. If they can't get a high value white man, they can always go to black and brown men and get one of the best in the bunch. This woman remembers the racist comments that her mother used to say about her father. Again, interracial relationships does not mean it's the end of racism itself. In this story, loving a black man can hurt. I need a white person by my side to get ahead in life. This is what this woman learned about being in a relationship with a black male, a black man who actually said this to her. So a black woman wrote this article where she's dating a black guy. She says, in the last conversation we had, after I discovered the relationship, he said in these exact words, I like white women, and if I'm going to cheat, I'll cheat with a white woman. I never took on a relationship with a black woman. To get ahead in life, I have to have a pessoa clara, a light or white person at my side, not a black person like me. What needs to be said about that? My question is, this is a woman reporting that a black guy said this to her. How many black men actually think this way? I'm not going to say all of them, but we can definitely assume that this is a large portion of the population in Brazil has this type of thought pattern about, dating someone that looks similar to them. All of these are all articles talking about palmitagem and palmiteiros. Palmitagem is a very big relationship of self-hate. Palmitagem, the discomfort in thinking about race and relations. And it goes on and on, right? This guy's telling a story about how he's a palmiteiro. He admits it. I was educated to prefer white women. These stories go on and on. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's plenty of them on here to go through if you go to blackbraziltoday.com. Just wanted to get an idea of what you all thought about today's material, because as I said, you can't, as an American, I have my own opinions about how Brazil works, but I love it when Brazilians themselves point these facts out. So for those who just visit Brazil and you don't take an interest in this is not going to be anything that matters to you. But for those of us who are into black issues, just know that this is something you're going to deal with when you go to Brazil. Don't be surprised when you run into black families who were dark through the grandmother and all the way up to the grandchildren who are getting closer and closer to whiteness. It's just something that you see all the time. Anyway, want to know what you all thought about today's video. Drop a comment in the comment section. Like this video. Definitely share this video. Click on that notification bell so that you know when I put up new videos. Subscribe to the channel as well. So with that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post.